On Father's Day, my daughter sent me a box with breathing holes punched in the sides. My wife whispered, "Malcolm, don't touch it. Something's moving inside." I looked closer and froze. What I discovered in that package would cost my daughter everything she'd been demanding for years. Before we continue, please subscribe to the channel and let us know where you're listening in the comments. The wine glass exploded against the marble fireplace, red liquid spreading across the white stone like blood. Vanessa's hand was still extended from the throw, her face twisted with rage I'd never seen before. Or maybe I'd just been refusing to see it for years. "You're sitting on a fortune while I'm drowning," she screamed, her voice echoing through our living room. "Do you even care that your own daughter can't afford to keep a roof over her children's heads?" I stood frozen, the estate planning documents clutched in my 68-year-old hands. 37 years of architectural projects, of late nights drafting blueprints, of choosing client meetings over family dinners, all reduced to ammunition in my daughter's war for my money. "Vanessa, that's not—" Catherine tried to intervene, but our daughter wasn't finished. "Not what? Not fair? You're right, it's not fair." Vanessa's designer heels clicked across the hardwood as she paced. "He's got over 400,000 sitting in retirement accounts, while Kyle and I are one paycheck away from eviction." Kyle Bradford lounged against our antique bookshelf, the one I'd designed and built by hand in 1989. His arms crossed, nodding along to his wife's tirade. His smirk said everything about who'd planted these seeds of entitlement. "Your mother and I worked for that money," I said quietly, trying to keep my voice level. "Every dollar represents a sacrifice, a delayed vacation." "A what?" Vanessa spun toward me. "A choice to hoard wealth instead of helping your family. That's what you call sacrifice." Kyle pushed off from the bookshelf. "Look, Malcolm, let's be real here. You're 68 years old. What are you saving all that money for? You can't take it with you." The casual disrespect in his tone made my jaw clench. This man had been living off my daughter's credit cards, which I'd been paying off for 3 years. He'd quit his job as a car salesman 18 months ago, claiming he was finding himself. Apparently himself was permanently located on my sofa. "I'm saving it for our retirement security," I said. "Catherine and I earned the right to spend our final decades without financial stress." "Final decades?" Vanessa's laugh was harsh. "Dad, you're in perfect health. You'll probably live another 20 years. Meanwhile, your grandchildren are wearing hand-me-downs because their mother can't afford new clothes." I looked at Vanessa's outfit, the Burberry trench coat hanging on our coat rack, the Gucci purse on our entry table, the diamond earrings Kyle had somehow managed to buy her last Christmas. Their version of poverty looked remarkably comfortable. "Ethan and Sophie looked fine when I saw them last week," Catherine said softly. "Happy and healthy. That's because I'm sacrificing everything to keep up appearances." Vanessa's voice cracked. "Do you know what it's like to see my friends taking their kids to Disney while we can barely afford groceries?" Kyle stepped forward, his expression shifting to something uglier. "Here's the thing, old man. You worked your whole life, right? Built a successful firm, designed half the buildings in this city. That's great, but what's it all for if you're not going to share it with family when they need it?" "I have shared it," I said, my voice hardening. "For 3 years running. Every rent payment that bounced I covered. Every maxed out credit card I paid off. Every gambling debt. Those were investments." Kyle interrupted. "Investments in what? Online poker? Sports betting?" The room went silent. Catherine's hand found my arm, a warning to tread carefully. But I was done treading carefully. "I have the credit card statements," I continued. "FanDuel, DraftKings, Caesar Sports. Thousands of dollars every month, Kyle, and not a single winning cash out in the entire 3 years." Vanessa's face paled. "You've been spying on us." "I've been paying your bills. There's a difference." Kyle's expression darkened. "You know what your problem is, Malcolm? You think money gives you the right to judge us, to control our lives. No, I think being asked to fund your gambling addiction gives me the right to say no." The words hung in the air like a thrown gauntlet. Vanessa grabbed her purse, and for a moment I thought she might actually leave with some dignity and tact. Instead, she pulled out her phone. "Fine," she said, her voice cold. "You want to play hardball? Say goodbye to your grandchildren?" She pulled up a photo, Ethan and Sophie at their school play last month, still in costume, grinning. "This is the last picture you'll see of them for a very long time," Catherine gasped. "Vanessa, you can't. Watch me." She turned to Kyle. "Come on, we're done here." Kyle paused at the door, his hand on the frame. "You're making a mistake, old man. Family is supposed to help family. When you're lying in some nursing home wondering why nobody visits, remember this conversation." The door slammed hard enough to rattle the windows. Through the beveled glass, I watched them climb into their Audi, the one I'd co-signed for because their credit was too damaged to qualify a loan. Catherine bent down to pick up the larger shards of broken wine glass, her hands trembling. "Malcolm, maybe we should reconsider." "No." The word came out harder than I intended. "No more. I'm done being held hostage." She looked up at me, tears in her eyes. "But Ethan and Sophie are being used as weapons. And if we give in now, Vanessa will know that threatening to keep them away we'll be paying ransom for the rest of our lives." I helped Catherine clean up the mess, sweeping fragments of crystal into the dustpan. The wine had already stained the marble, a permanent reminder of the moment our family relationship shattered as completely as that glass. My phone buzzed, a text from Vanessa. "Hope you enjoy your money more than your grandkids. Don't expect any Father's Day wishes from us." I stared at the message, then set the phone face down on the kitchen counter. "What did she say?" Catherine asked quietly. "Nothing that changes anything." But as I went to bed that night, the threat echoed in my mind. Father's Day was in 6 days. Part of me wondered what Vanessa meant by that message. Part of me was afraid to find out. The week passed in tense silence. No calls from Vanessa, no surprise visits demanding reconciliation or money. Just an eerie quiet that felt more threatening than her rage had been. Father's Day arrived with morning sunlight streaming through our bedroom windows. I'd slept poorly, dreams filled with confrontations and grandchildren I couldn't reach. Catherine brought me coffee in bed, a tradition she'd started 20 years ago. "Happy Father's Day," she said softly, sitting on the edge of our mattress. "Thank you." I took the mug, breathing in the familiar aroma. "Any word from—" "No, nothing." We'd both been checking our phones obsessively, waiting for the inevitable crisis. The urgent plea, the manipulative text about how Ethan had asked about Grandpa. But there was nothing. Maybe Vanessa had finally accepted the boundary I'd drawn. Maybe she'd found other sources of money to exploit. Maybe the doorbell rang. Catherine and I looked at each other. It was barely 7 a.m. on a Sunday. We weren't expecting anyone. I pulled on my robe and headed downstairs. Catherine followed. Through the front door's frosted glass, I could see a delivery truck idling at our curb. I opened the door to find a young courier holding a medium-sized box. "Malcolm Reed." "That's me. Special Sunday delivery. Someone must really love you." He offered me an electronic pad to sign, heavy surcharge for holiday delivery. "But hey, you're worth it, right?" I signed, feeling a cold uncertainty settling in my stomach. The box was roughly the size of a briefcase, wrapped in plain brown shipping paper. No return address visible, just a generic label from a fulfillment center in Texas. "Who's it from?" Catherine asked as I carried it inside. "No name. Could be from Daniel or his family. My son lived in Seattle, and we'd spoken on the phone yesterday. He'd mentioned sending something, but being unsure if it would arrive in time." I set the box on our dining room table. It was heavier than it looked, maybe 8 or 10 pounds. As I reached for the packing tape, Catherine leaned closer. Then she grabbed my wrist. "Malcolm, stop." "What?" Her face had gone pale. Look at the box. Really look at it. I examined it more carefully. Then I saw what she'd noticed, tiny holes punched along the top edge of the cardboard, small deliberate perforations in a careful pattern. Breathing holes, Catherine whispered. My stomach dropped. That's not surely Daniel wouldn't send something alive without warning us. Daniel's not the one I'm worried about. We both stared at the box. In the quiet of our dining room, I could now hear it, a faint scratching sound from inside the package. Something shifting position, something very much alive. Call 911, I said quietly. Malcolm, maybe it's just, Catherine, someone sent us a package with something living inside it on Father's Day. The same day our daughter threatened us about. This isn't a coincidence. Her hand trembled as she pulled out her phone, but before she could dial, I noticed something else, a smell, faint but distinct, musty, earthy, like a terrarium or reptile tank. The scratching sound came again, more insistent this time. 911, what's your emergency? Catherine's voice shook as she explained. I stood frozen, staring at that innocent-looking package, watching one of the breathing holes darken as something inside moved past it. My daughter had sent me something in that box, something meant to frighten me, to punish me, to show me what happened when I said no to her demand. And whatever it was about to come out. If this story reminded you of the injustices you've seen, follow the channel and turn on notifications, because wherever justice is delayed, a new revenge story begins. The 911 operator kept Catherine on the line while I backed away from the table. Through the breathing holes, I could hear more movement now, something with claws or hard feet scraping against cardboard. Sir, officers are en route, the operator said through the speakerphone. ETA is 8 minutes. Please maintain distance from the package. What if it gets out? Catherine asked, her voice tight with fear. The box appears sealed. Unless it's damaged, the contents should remain contained until professionals arrive. Should remain contained. The words offered little comfort as I watched the box shift slightly on the table. Whatever was inside clearly agitated now, disturbed by our voices and movement. Catherine, I said quietly, check my credit card statements from the last month. Online access, on your phone. Malcolm, this isn't the time. Please, I need to know if I'm right about who sent this. Her fingers trembled as she navigated to our bank's website. I kept my eyes on the box, watching for any sign of it opening. The scratching had stopped, replaced by an eerie stillness that somehow felt more threatening. Okay, I'm logged in, Catherine said. What am I looking for? Any charges I wouldn't recognize? Pet stores, exotic animal suppliers, anything like that? She scrolled through transactions, her face illuminated by the phone screen. Then she stopped, her expression shifting from fear to something colder. Exotic Creatures Unlimited, she read aloud. March 19th, $215. March 19th, 4 days after our argument about the inheritance. 4 days after Vanessa had stormed out threatening revenge. What else does it say? It's just listed as merchandise. The charge went through on your card, the one Vanessa has access to for emergencies. Catherine looked up at me, anger mixing with fear. Malcolm, she used your own money to buy whatever's in that box. The audacity of it hit me like a physical blow. Not only had our daughter sent us something dangerous, she'd made me pay for it. A sound from the box made us both jump, not scratching this time, but a distinct clicking, rhythmic and sharp, like castanets. Oh God, Catherine breathed. Malcolm, I think I know what that sound is. What? Remember when Ethan did that school project on desert animals? The documentary we watched with him about the box moved, not just shifted, but moved deliberately, sliding an inch across the table as whatever was inside repositioned itself. The clicking sound intensified. Through our front window, I saw flashing red and blue lights. The police had arrived. But as I watched that box pulse with hidden life, I knew this was just the beginning. Whatever Vanessa had sent wasn't just meant to scare us, it was meant to hurt us. And the clicking sound Catherine recognized told me exactly what we were dealing with. My daughter had sent me something that could kill. The doorbell rang urgently. I rushed to answer it, finding two officers on my porch, a tall woman with her hand near her weapon, and a younger male officer already pulling on gloves. "Malcolm Reed, I'm Officer Santos. This is Officer Chen. We got a call about a suspicious package." "Dining room," I said, stepping aside. "There's something alive inside. We can hear it moving." Officer Santos entered cautiously, her eyes scanning our home with practiced efficiency. She approached the table slowly, studying the box from several angles before looking back at me. "Any idea what might be inside?" "Based on the sounds it's making," Catherine said from the doorway, her voice steadier now, "we think it might be a scorpion." Officer Chen's expression tightened. "Scorpion? There's a clicking sound," I explained, "like what they make with their claws when they're agitated. My grandson did a school project on them last year." Officer Santos pulled out her radio. "Dispatch, this is Unit 12. We need animal control at this location immediately. Possible exotic wildlife in package. Request code 3 response." "Animal control is already en route," the radio crackled back. "ETA 3 minutes. Have you touched the package at all?" Officer Santos asked. "Only to carry it from the front door to the table." "I didn't know." "That's fine. Just stay back now." She circled the table, examining the breathing holes without getting too close. "These perforations are very deliberate. Whoever packaged this knew exactly what they were doing." "Do you have any idea who might have sent it?" Officer Chen asked, pulling out a note. The question I'd been dreading. How do you tell police officers that you suspect your own daughter tried to send you a venomous arthropod as a Father's Day gift? "We had a family dispute recently," I said carefully, "about money. Things were said, threats were made." "What kind of threats?" Catherine showed them her phone, pulling up Vanessa's text from 6 days ago. "Hope you enjoy your money more than your grandkids. Don't expect any Father's Day wishes from us." Officer Santos read it, her expression professional but sympathetic. "And you believe this family member sent the package?" "There was a charge on my credit card," I said. 4 days after our argument, $215 to a place called Exotic Creatures Unlimited. My daughter has access to that card." Officer Chen wrote quickly, "We'll need to investigate that charge. But sir, if your suspicions are correct, we're potentially looking at assault with a dangerous animal, possibly attempted murder depending on the species." Murder. The word hung in the air like poison. A white van pulled up outside, animal control painted on its side in bold letters. A man in his 40s emerged, carrying what looked like a large plastic container and several tools. "That's Rodriguez," Officer Santos said, "best exotic animal handler in the county." Rodriguez entered with the calm confidence of someone who'd done this many times. He set his equipment down and studied the box with professional detachment. "Folks said possible scorpion. That's our guess based on the sounds," I confirmed. He leaned close, listening. The clicking had started again, more insistent now. Rodriguez nodded slowly. "Yep, that's definitely a scorpion, and based on the pattern of the clicking, I'd say we're dealing with something from the Bothridae family. Potentially bark scorpion, maybe even Deathstalker if someone really wanted to make a point." "Deathstalker?" Catherine's voice went high with fear. "Most venomous scorpion in North America," Rodriguez said matter-of-factly. "Sting won't kill a healthy adult, but it'll make you wish you were dead. Pain beyond anything you've experienced, possible respiratory issues, seizures in extreme cases." He pulled on thick leather gloves that extended past his elbows. "I'm going to open this very carefully. Everyone needs to clear the room. If it gets out, scorpions can move fast and hide in the smallest spaces. We retreated to the living room while Rodriguez worked. I could hear the careful sound of packing tape being cut, then a long silence. "Got it," Rodriguez called out. "Jesus Christ. This is a big one." Officer Santos moved to the doorway, blocking our view. "What species?" "Arizona bark scorpion, fully mature, about 3 inches long, definitely lethal venom." Someone knew what they were buying. My legs felt weak. I sank onto our sofa, the full reality of what Vanessa had done crashing over me. My daughter, the little girl I'd taught to ride a bike, who'd cried when I left for business trips, who'd asked me to walk her down the aisle at her wedding, had sent me something that could have killed me. Rodriguez emerged, carrying a sealed plastic container. Inside I could see it, a pale yellow scorpion, its tail curved over its back in defensive position, claws opening and closing in that terrible clicking rhythm. "This is evidence now," Officer Santos said. "Reed, I need to ask, do you want to press charges?" I looked at Catherine. Tears were streaming down her face, but her expression was resolute. "Yes," I said, "I want to press charges." Officer Chin closed his note. "We'll need a formal statement, documentation of the credit card charge, any other evidence of threats or harassment. This is going to be a complex investigation." "There's more," I said quietly. "Years of financial abuse, manipulation, threatening to keep my grandchildren from us. I have bank statements, text messages, everything. Then we'll need all of it." Officer Santos handed me her card. "This isn't just family drama anymore, Mr. Reed. This is criminal." After they left, taking the scorpion as evidence, Catherine and I sat in silence in our living room. The dining room table sat empty now, but I could still see that box in my mind's eye, still hear that terrible clicking. My phone rang. Vanessa's name appeared on the screen. I answered, putting it on speaker so Catherine could hear. "Dad?" Vanessa's voice carried forced brightness. "Happy Father's Day. Did you get your surprise?" The calculated cruelty in her tone made my blood run cold. "Vanessa," I said quietly, "the police have the scorpion. They're filing charges. It's over." Silence, then a laugh, high and brittle. "You're bluffing. You'd never actually call the police on your own daughter. Animal control already took it away. An Arizona bark scorpion, they said. Potentially lethal venom. Does that sound familiar?" The silence stretched longer this time. When she spoke again, the false brightness was gone, replaced by something cold and desperate. "You can't prove I sent it. You used my credit card to buy it, Vanessa. Exotic Creatures Unlimited, $215. They'll have records of the purchase, your shipping address, everything." I don't know what you're talking about. But I could hear Kyle in the background, his voice sharp with panic. "What's he saying? What do the police know?" "This conversation is over," I said. "Don't contact us again. Any communication goes through lawyers now." "Dad, wait, we can explain." I hung up. Catherine was shaking beside me, whether from fear or relief. I couldn't tell, probably both. "Malcolm," she whispered, "what happens now?" "Now?" I looked at her, feeling a strange calm settle over me. "Now we protect ourselves, legally, financially, permanently. No more games, no more manipulation, no more scorpions." What would you do at this point? Write it in the comments. Your thoughts are as important as the story itself. My phone buzzed with texts, Vanessa trying to call back, leaving messages, each one more desperate than the last. I blocked her number, then Kyle's. Tomorrow, I would call our attorney. Tomorrow, I would change our will, remove Vanessa's access to everything, create trusts for Ethan and Sophie that their mother could never touch. Tomorrow, I would ensure that the daughter who tried to kill me with a scorpion would never benefit from my death. But tonight, I held my wife while she cried for the family we'd lost, for the daughter who'd chosen hatred over love, for the grandchildren caught in the middle of something they didn't understand. Outside, The sun was setting on Father's Day, the worst Father's Day of my life, and somehow I knew it was only the beginning. Monday morning, I sat across from Gerald Hutchins in his law office, overlooking the city skyline. I'd known Gerald for 20 years. He'd handled our estate planning, property deals, even mediated my partnership buyout when I retired from the architecture firm. But I'd never sat in his office feeling this cold, Malcolm, Gerald said, removing his reading glasses. When you called yesterday, you mentioned needing aggressive legal protection. The police report you sent over. He tapped the folder on his desk. This is serious. Criminal charges serious. That's why I'm here. He opened the folder, scanning the incident report. Arizona bark scorpion, delivered via mail. Detective Ramirez noted your daughter's credit card access and the threatening text message. They're pursuing charges of assault with a deadly weapon, possibly attempted murder depending on the DA's assessment. What are the chances they'll actually prosecute? Gerald leaned back in his chair, his expression grave. With the paper, the credit card charge, the shipping records, the threatening messages, I'd say 70. Chance of prosecution. The challenge is proving intent that Vanessa specifically meant to harm you versus what? Sending an extremely inappropriate prank? A deadly scorpion isn't a prank. I agree. But her lawyer will argue exactly that. They'll say it was meant to scare you. They'll claim she didn't know how dangerous it actually was. They'll paint her as a desperate daughter driven to extremes by her father's refusal to help with legitimate financial struggles. I felt my jaw clench. So she gets away with it? Not necessarily. Even if criminal charges don't stick, we have civil remedies. And more importantly, he pulled out a fresh legal pad. We can ensure she never has the opportunity to harm you again financially or physically. That's what I want. Complete legal separation. Gerald started writing. Let's begin with the most urgent item, your will. Currently, Vanessa is the primary beneficiary after Catherine, correct? Yes. Everything splits evenly, 50% to Catherine if I die first, then everything to Vanessa when Catherine passes. We're changing that completely. How do you want your assets distributed? I'd spent all of Sunday night thinking about this, lying awake while Catherine slept fitfully beside me. Catherine gets everything, as expected. But after she passes, I want the bulk of our estate to go into educational trusts for Ethan and Sophie, college tuition, graduate school if they choose, vocational training, anything that furthers their education. Trustee, you, if you're willing, someone completely independent who can't be manipulated or pressured by Vanessa. Gerald nodded, writing quickly. Standard provisions preventing the trustee from releasing funds to parents? Absolutely. Vanessa and Kyle get nothing. Not a dollar. Not access to the children's funds. Nothing. What about Catherine's inheritance? If she outlives you, technically she could choose to leave her half to Vanessa. I paused. Catherine had always been softer than me when it came to our daughter. Even after yesterday's scorpion incident, I'd caught her looking at photos of Vanessa as a child, tears streaming down her face. Can we structure it so Catherine has full use of the funds during her lifetime, but the remainder automatically goes to the trusts upon her death? Yes, a life estate with remainder to the educational trust. Catherine maintains complete control while alive, but can't divert the ultimate destination of the assets. It felt cold, calculating. But I'd learned that love without boundaries was just enabling with a prettier name. Next item, Gerald continued. Current property ownership. The house is jointly titled, correct? Yes, Catherine and I are joint tenants. No issues there. Vanessa has no claim, but I'm concerned about other assets. Do you have any joint accounts with your daughter? Co-signed loans? Any financial instruments with her name attached? The credit card she used to buy the scorpion, she's an authorized user. We're removing that immediately. I'll call the bank today. Anything else? I thought back through years of financial entanglement. I co-signed her car loan 3 years ago, the Audi. Gerald's expression darkened. That's problematic. If she defaults, you're liable for the full balance. Can I remove myself? Not without her refinancing in her own name, which she likely can't do with her credit score. But he smiled grimly. Given the current criminal investigation, you might have grounds to petition the court for release from the obligation based on changed circumstances and documented threats to your safety. Do it. There's another option. Gerald tapped his pen against the legal pad. You could demand immediate full payment of the loan balance, which would trigger default and potential repossession. Given that you're the co-signer, you technically have that right under most loan agreements. The thought of Vanessa losing her car, the vehicle she'd probably driven to the exotic pet store to buy my Father's Day Scorpion, carried a certain poetic justice. How quickly could that happen? I can draft the demand letter today. She'd have 30 days to pay the full balance, probably around $28,000 at this point. When she doesn't pay, the lender repossesses the vehicle and sells it at auction. You'd still be liable for any deficiency, but she loses the car. Yeah, and more importantly, it sends a clear message that the financial support system she's relied on for years is permanently closed. Do it. Gerald made more notes. Now, the restraining order. Given the criminal charges, I recommend filing for a permanent order of protection. No contact, no proximity. She can't come within 500 feet of you, Catherine, or your property. What about the grandchildren? The question hurt to ask. Ethan and Sophie had nothing to do with their mother's choices, but they were being used as weapons in her war against us. We can include supervised visitation provisions if you want to maintain contact with them. A neutral third party facilitates meetings at a specific location. Neither Vanessa nor Kyle present. The court appoints someone. You cover the cost of supervision, but you get to see your grandchildren safely. It was better than nothing, better than the complete severance Vanessa had threatened. Yes, include that. One more difficult question, Malcolm. Your architectural firm, Romano and Associates, now just Associates since your retirement. You still own a percentage, correct? 15% passive ownership. I sold my controlling stake when I retired, but retained a minority interest for ongoing income. Is Vanessa named as beneficiary on those partnership interests? My stomach sank. I think so. The buyout agreement from 5 years ago, I structured it so the ownership would pass to her eventually, meant as part of her inheritance. Gerald's expression turned serious. We need to review that agreement immediately. Partnership interests can be tricky to modify, especially if there are other partners involved, but given current circumstances, we may be able to restructure. What happens if I die before we change it? Then Vanessa inherits your 15% stake in a firm worth approximately $8 million. Your 15% would be valued at $1.2 million. The room felt smaller suddenly. I'd been so focused on retirement accounts and real estate that I'd forgotten about the partnership interest, the golden parachute I'd negotiated to provide ongoing passive income and eventual wealth transfer. How fast can we change it? I'll need to review the original buyout agreement, but typically partnership modifications require unanimous partner approval. That could take weeks, even months if they're not cooperative. Make it happen. I don't care what it costs in legal fees or renegotiation penalties. Vanessa doesn't get that firm. Subscribe and stay tuned so you don't miss any true revenge stories. Sometimes even silence is the strongest form of revenge. Gerald closed his notepad, his expression a mixture of professional sympathy and admiration. Malcolm, what you're doing is going to devastate her financially. Everything she's been counting on, gone. Are you prepared for her reaction? I thought about the scorpion, its tail curved in striking position, the deadly neurotoxin in its stinger meant for me. I thought about Vanessa's voice on the phone. Did you get your surprise? She sent me a creature that could have killed me, I said quietly. For money. Yes, I'm prepared for her reaction. Then let's do this. Gerald spent the next hour drafting documents while I signed power of attorney forms, authorized him to contact banks and lenders, provided account numbers and financial statements. By noon, the legal machinery was in motion, documents filed, letters drafted, calls made to financial institutions. As I stood to leave, Gerald walked me to the door of his office. Malcolm, one piece of advice: document everything from here forward. Every attempt at contact, every threat, every violation. Keep a journal with dates, times, exact words if possible. If this ends up in court, criminal or civil, you want an ironclad record. I will. And Malcolm, he paused, I'm sorry it came to this. No father should have to protect himself from his own daughter. I nodded, not trusting my voice to remain steady. Outside Gerald's office, the city bustled with normal Monday activity, people heading to work, grabbing coffee, living lives untouched by familial betrayal. I sat in my car for several minutes, hands on the steering wheel, letting the magnitude of what I'd just set in motion settle over me. My phone rang, unknown number, but I answered anyway. Mr. Reed, this is Detective Ramirez. I wanted to update you on the investigation. Yes, we obtained a warrant for Exotic Creatures Unlimited sales records. They confirmed a purchase on March 19th matching the charge on your credit card. The buyer, he paused, your daughter used her real name and had it shipped to your address. She filled out the live animal shipping form, acknowledging the scorpion's venomous nature and potential danger. So she'd known. She'd been fully informed about what she was sending, acknowledged its danger in writing, and sent it anyway. Does that help the prosecution? It makes our case significantly stronger. She can't claim ignorance about the danger. The DA is going to file formal charges this afternoon: assault with a deadly weapon, reckless endangerment, and possibly attempted murder, though that last one's harder to prove. When? Your daughter will be arrested tomorrow morning. Given that she used your credit card, we can also add identity theft charges. She'll be arraigned, bail will be set, and Mr. Reed, I have to be honest, even with solid evidence, family cases are complicated. Juries are sympathetic to daughters in conflict with parents. Her lawyer will spin this as a desperate woman driven to extremes. I understand, but here's the thing. The shipping form she signed included explicit warning. She acknowledged receiving instructions on safe handling of dangerous animals. She signed liability waivers. This wasn't an impulse decision. She planned this. After hanging up, I started driving. Not toward home, but through the city I'd spent 37 years designing, past the Richardson Tower downtown, my first major project. The East Side Medical Center, my proudest achievement. The harbor renovation that had won architectural awards. Buildings that would outlive me. Legacy in steel and glass and concrete. I'd wanted to leave Vanessa a legacy too: financial security, freedom from worry, the comfort I'd never had growing up. Instead, I was leaving her with criminal charges and an empty inheritance. But as I pulled into our driveway, I felt something I hadn't experienced in years when thinking about my daughter: peace. Not the peace of resolution, but the peace of having finally set a necessary boundary, no matter how much it hurt. Catherine was waiting in the kitchen, her face drawn. Gerald called. He told me what you're doing with the will. I should have discussed it with you first. No, shook her head. You shouldn't have, because I would have tried to talk you out of it. I would have said she's still our daughter. She deserves another chance. Maybe she didn't really mean to hurt you. But I kept thinking about that scorpion. Her voice cracked. About how its sting could have killed you. About how Vanessa knew. She signed forms, acknowledging the danger, and sent it anyway. For money, Malcolm. She risked killing her father for money she hasn't even earned. I pulled her into an embrace. We stood there in our kitchen holding each other, mourning the daughter we'd thought we raised. Detective Ramirez called, I said. They're filing charges tomorrow. She'll be arrested. Catherine pulled back, her eyes red. Will she go to jail? Probably not long term, but she'll have a criminal record. And with the financial changes, with everything I'm doing legally, she's going to hate us even more than she already does. I know, Catherine wiped her eyes. But maybe that's what finally wakes her up, when she loses everything, when she faces real consequences for once in her life. Maybe she'll finally understand, or maybe she'll just find new people to manipulate, new sources of money to exploit. But I didn't say that out loud. My phone rang, an unfamiliar number with our local area code. Against my better judgment, I answered. You bastard! Vanessa's voice shook with rage. The police just called. They're charging me with attempted murder. You sent me a deadly scorpion. It was supposed to scare you. Not Jesus, Dad. You actually think I tried to kill you. You signed forms acknowledging the danger. You knew exactly what you were sending. Those forms are just legal bullshit. They make you sign stuff to cover their asses. I didn't actually read. She stopped herself, perhaps realizing she was confessing to criminal recklessness. Vanessa, this conversation needs to happen through lawyers. Lawyers? You're my father. Don't you want to hear my side? I heard your side on Father's Day when you asked if I got my surprise. I heard the smugness in your voice, the satisfaction. You wanted me to be afraid. I wanted you to understand what it's like. Her voice rose to a shriek, to feel helpless and scared and desperate. That's how I feel every day while you sit on your fortune doing nothing. That's not my responsibility. The hell it isn't. You're my father. You're supposed to help me. Kyle's voice shouted in the background. Tell him about the car. Tell him we know what he did. What about the car? Vanessa's tone shifted, becoming harder. Your lawyer called about the co-signed loan. You can't do that, Dad. That's our only transport. You used my credit to buy that car. You've missed 3 payments in the last year that I covered. The loan agreement allows me to demand full payment when I feel the collateral is at risk. And right now, with criminal charges pending, I'd say it's definitely at risk. So you're taking my car? You're really going to leave your pregnant daughter without transportation? The word pregnant hit me like a fist. You're pregnant? 3 months. That's why money's been so tight. Medical bills, preparing for the baby. I've been trying to tell you, but you wouldn't listen. Catherine's hand flew to her mouth. Another grandchild. Another innocent life caught in Vanessa's web of manipulation. Vanessa, if you're really pregnant, that's wonderful news, but it doesn't change what you did. It doesn't excuse attempted assault with a deadly weapon. I can't believe you. Her voice broke. Your own daughter pregnant with your grandchild, facing jail time because you're too selfish to help her. You sent me something that could have killed me. The pregnancy doesn't make that okay. I hate you, she whispered. I hope when they throw me in jail, when they take my children away, when I lose everything, I hope you remember that you could have stopped it. You could have been a real father and helped me instead of destroying me. The line went dead. Catherine sank into a kitchen chair, her face pale. Malcolm, if she's really pregnant, we don't even know if it's true. She's lied about crises before to get money. Remember the cancer scare that turned out to be nothing? The car accident that never happened? But what if it is true? That baby, our grandchild, will be born while she's dealing with criminal charges? Ethan and Sophie will see their mother arrested. The weight of it pressed down on me. I'd wanted to teach Vanessa about consequences, but I hadn't considered the collateral damage. 3 children who didn't ask for any of this. Catherine, I can't control what Vanessa chose to do. I can only control how we respond. And we have to protect ourselves, even if it means the children suffer in the short term. She looked at me with an expression I couldn't quite read. When did we become the kind of people who let children suffer for their parents' mistakes? When the alternative became letting ourselves be abused and manipulated indefinitely. My phone buzzed with a text from an unknown number, probably Kyle using someone else's phone since I'd blocked him. "You'll pay for this, old man. You think the police protect you? Think again. We know where you sleep." I showed the message to Catherine. Her face hardened. "Forward that to Detective Ramirez," she said. "Right now." "Catherine, no." I was wavering, feeling guilty about the pregnancy, about the grandchildren. "But that," she pointed at the phone, "that's a direct threat. They sent you a deadly scorpion, and now they're threatening violence. We're not safe, Malcolm. Not until they're held accountable." She was right. I forwarded the message to Detective Ramirez, who called back within minutes. "Miss Reed, that message constitutes criminal threatening. With your permission, I'm adding Kyle Bradford to the arrest warrant. They'll both be picked up tomorrow morning. Do it." After he hung up, I looked at Catherine. Last chance to back out. Once they're arrested, once the criminal cases start, there's no going back. This will define our relationship with Vanessa and possibly the grandchildren for years, maybe forever. She took my hand. "I choose us. I choose our safety. I choose not enabling someone who would rather threaten us than take responsibility for her own choices. Even if it means not seeing Ethan and Sophie, not meeting the new baby." Her eyes filled with tears, but her voice remained steady. "Even because teaching them that this behavior is acceptable would be the worst thing we could do." We sat together in our kitchen as evening shadows lengthened across the floor. Outside, neighbors returned home from work. Children played in yards. Normal life continued for everyone who didn't have a daughter facing criminal charges. My phone stayed silent for the rest of the night. No more threats, no more manipulation, just eerie quiet before the storm that would break tomorrow when police knocked on Vanessa and Kyle's door. I slept better that night than I had in months. Tuesday morning arrived clear and cold. I was drinking coffee on our back patio when Detective Ramirez called at 8. "They're in custody," he said without preamble. "Both your daughter and her husband. Arraignment is scheduled for 2 p.m. today." How did they react? Kyle got aggressive, resisted arrest, which added charge. Vanessa broke down crying, kept saying she was pregnant, that we were making a mistake. We verified the pregnancy with her OB's office. She's telling the truth about that. So it wasn't a lie. Another life caught in the disaster Vanessa had created. What happens now? Bail hearing this afternoon. Given the nature of the charges and Kyle's threatening messages, we're recommending no contact orders as a condition of any bail. They'll have to stay away from you completely. Can they afford bail? That depends on what the judge sets it at. Assault with a deadly weapon typically runs high. Could be $50,000 or more. Given Kyle's additional charges and history, his might be even higher. After hanging up, I sat watching birds flit through our garden. Catherine joined me, 2 fresh cups of coffee in her hands. "It's done then." "It started," I corrected. "The legal process will take months, but yes, the immediate crisis is contained." "What about Ethan and Sophie? If both parents are in jail, even temporarily, social services will place them temporarily, probably with Kyle's mother if she's available." I took the coffee cup she offered. "Gerald is already drafting paperwork for supervised visitation rights. We might be able to see them within a few weeks." "Supervised, like we're the dangerous ones." "Right now, in the eyes of the court, we're all potentially dangerous. The children need to be protected until everything shakes out." My phone rang again, Gerald this time. "Malcolm, I have news. I reviewed your partnership buyout agreement from Romano and Associates. There's a clause I'd forgotten about. Material breach of familial relations. It was meant to cover divorce scenarios, but I think we can apply it here." Meaning if a family member beneficiary is convicted of crimes against the partnership stakeholder, the stakeholder can revoke the transfer provision and redirect inheritance. It's rarely invoked, but given attempted murder charges, we can cut her out of the firm. Potentially, I'll need to meet with the current partners, get their approval. But Malcolm, even the possibility might be enough to convince Vanessa to settle. She might agree to stay away from you permanently in exchange for not losing that inheritance. Leverage, exactly. The kind that doesn't require you to actually engage with her. Everything goes through lawyers, negotiated settlements, legal boundaries. After the call ended, Catherine said quietly, "It feels like we're at war with our own daughter." "We are," and she fired the first shot when she mailed me a scorpion. The rest of Tuesday passed in a blur of phone calls, Gerald updating me on legal filings, Detective Ramirez confirming court times, my son Daniel calling from Seattle in shock after reading about the charges online. "Dad, I can't believe Vanessa actually. Is it true? Did she really send you a deadly scorpion?" "It's true." "Jesus, and you're pressing charges? Full prosecution?" "Daniel, she could have killed me, and when I confronted her, she wasn't remorseful. She was angry that it didn't work the way she wanted. Still, she's your daughter, my sister. There has to be some other way." "There isn't." My voice came out harder than I intended. "Not anymore. I spent 4 years trying other ways. This is what happens when those fail." Daniel was quiet for a moment. "If you need anything, character witnesses for court, financial help with legal fees, anything, just ask." "Thank you. And Dad, I'm proud of you for setting boundaries, for protecting yourself. I know how much this must be killing you." And after he hung up, I realized Daniel had put his finger on exactly what I was feeling. Pride and grief mixed together, satisfaction at finally acting decisively, and sorrow for what that action destroyed. At 4:30 p.m., Gerald called with the arraignment result. Bail set at $75,000 each. No contact orders issued. They managed to make bail. Kyle's mother put up her house, but they're prohibited from any contact with you or Catherine. Violating that order means immediate jail time. When's the trial? Criminal trials take time. We're looking at 6 months minimum, possibly longer. But Malcolm, there's something else. Vanessa's attorney requested a meeting, not with you directly, with me as your representative. He wants to discuss a plea agreement. Already? The evidence is pretty damning. The credit card trail, the signed acknowledgement of danger, the threatening texts. Her lawyer knows they'd likely lose at trial, so they want to negotiate. What are they offering? They'll plead guilty to reckless endangerment, a lesser charge in exchange for probation and mandatory counseling. No jail time, but it requires your approval since you're the victim. I thought about Vanessa facing years in prison, about Ethan and Sophie and the unborn baby growing up with their mother behind bars. What's your recommendation from a purely legal standpoint? Take the plea. It gets you the restraining order, gets her into mandatory counseling, establishes a criminal record that protects you if she ever tries anything again, and it avoids the trauma of a trial. But it also feels like she's getting off easy. A deadly weapon, criminal threats, identity theft, and she walks away with probation. That night, Catherine and I discussed it for hours. The practical benefits of the plea deal versus the emotional need to see Vanessa face full consequence. The impact on the grandchildren versus the importance of not enabling criminal behavior. In the end, it came down to a simple question: what outcome best protected us while giving Vanessa a chance to actually change? Take the plea, I told Gerald the next morning. With condition. What conditions? 5 years probation, not 3, mandatory anger management, and financial counseling. Complete restitution for the cost of the scorpion removal, my legal fees, everything, and most importantly, a permanent restraining order that doesn't expire when probation ends. She stays away from us for life. I'll negotiate those terms. Anything else? The partnership inheritance. That's contingent on her completing probation successfully and maintaining no contact. One violation, one breach, and she loses it entirely. Put that in writing. That's smart. Gives her incentive to actually comply instead of just running out the clock on probation. 2 weeks later, the plea deal was finalized. Vanessa pled guilty to reckless endangerment, 5 years supervised probation, mandatory counseling, permanent restraining order, and her inheritance from my partnership interest hung over her head like a sword, motivating compliance through financial self-interest. I didn't attend the hearing, didn't want to see her, didn't want to hear whatever performance she'd put on for the judge. Gerald represented me, ensured all the conditions were met, and called afterward to confirm it was done. She cried throughout, he reported. Apologized to the court, claimed pregnancy hormones, said she never meant actual harm. The judge didn't buy it but accepted the plea. She's officially a convicted criminal now, and a restraining order, permanent, 500 feet at all times, no contact, direct or indirect. Violation means immediate probation revocation and possible jail time. That evening, Catherine and I sat on our back patio watching the sunset. For the first time in months, we weren't discussing Vanessa, weren't planning legal strategies, weren't preparing for the next crisis. We were just sitting together peacefully in the home we'd built over 40 years of marriage. Do you think she'll change? Catherine asked. I don't know. Counseling might help. The consequences might teach her something. Or she might just get better at hiding her true nature. Either way, she's not our problem anymore. No, I agreed. She's not. My phone buzzed. A text from an unknown number. For a moment, I tensed, worried it was Vanessa finding a way around the restraining order. But it was Daniel sending a photo, him and his family, holding a sign, "We love you, Dad. Happy Father's Day." I showed Catherine and we both smiled. The first genuine smiles in weeks. You know what we should do, she said. We should plan that European trip we've been postponing for years. Paris, Rome, Barcelona, just us. What about the grandchildren? Gerald said supervised visitation might be approved in a few months. When we get back, we'll see them then. But right now, she took my hand. Right now, let's remember what it's like to just be us. Before we became parents, before the complications. Just Catherine and Malcolm. I squeezed her hand. That sounds perfect. As the sun set over our garden, I felt something I hadn't experienced in years. Hope. Not hope that Vanessa would change or that our relationship would magically repair itself, but hope that Catherine and I could reclaim our lives, could enjoy our remaining years without constant manipulation and crisis. The scorpion was gone. The threats were silenced. The legal protections were in place, and for the first time since that terrible Father's Day, I could breathe freely. My daughter had tried to poison me, and in doing so, she'd inadvertently freed me from the toxic relationship that had been poisoning both of us for years. It was a bitter freedom, paid for with severed family bonds and a grandchild I might never meet, but it was freedom nonetheless. And as I sat there holding my wife's hand, watching the sky turn gold and crimson, I realized that sometimes the greatest gift you can give yourself is the courage to let go, even when what you're letting go of is your own child. The scorpion's sting would have killed me. Walking away from Vanessa just might save me. Thank you for watching. If this story showed you a different face of justice, like the video and share your thoughts in the comments. See you in the next revenge story.